John, can you tell me a little bit about who Everytown is and what its top priorities are right now?
Well, look, I think the most important thing about Everytown is to know that it is the counterweight to the gun lobby. And the gun lobby in this country wants to normalize gun ownership, guns for anybody, anywhere, anytime. And when we created Everytown for gun safety, what we said was what this country needed was a counterweight to the gun lobby that would actually articulate where the American public stands. The American public stands for common sense. They stand for background checks for every gun sale. They stand for making it harder for domestic users to be able to get guns, and for police to have the ability to remove guns from the home. There needed to be a voice of common sense in this country, and that's what Everytown tries to do every single day through its extraordinary grassroots partner, Moms Demand Action, and through its political and policy shop.
So, what can everyone here do today to actually make a difference?
Well, you can do things like Julianne does, which are extraordinary. But I think that, look, I think that there are several things that people can do. Some I'll be very specific about, and some I'll be sort of more big picture about. So the most important thing is to become an activist. This is an issue where the American public has to stand up, raise their hand, and say, we don't want to live in a country that had 22 times the gun murder rate of any developed country in the world. And it's just extraordinarily important that we make this clear, and it's particularly important because for a political generation, the gun lobby, the NRA, had the megaphone themselves. And so it's just important to become an activist. It's important to donate. It's important to tell your friends. But let's be real specific. June 2nd every year is National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And we ask people to do a very, very simple thing, which is to wear orange, because it's the color that hunters wear in the wilderness to protect themselves. And it's a way of every American in this country, every business in this country, just saying, we actually believe in gun safety. And so on June 2nd, I ask you to wear orange. I ask you if you work for a business, for their marquee or their logo to turn orange. And then on June 3rd, the next day, we have a march event across the Brooklyn Bridge, which is just an extraordinary demonstration, again, of the fact that Americans want to stand for safety. Americans want to live in a country where we have responsible gun ownership, that we believe in gun safety. And those are two things, June 2nd and June 3rd, that you can do that just demonstrate where the American public stand. Because the problem is, too many people think that the NRA is the only voice on this issue. And I have to say, when we're talking about what people can do, that my hero on this issue is sitting right next to me.
Thank you guys do it all.
Because Julianne has really understood how important it is for people to stand up and to actually make clear that gun safety is one of the most important values for us and for our children.
Anybody by doing that, by just turning my back. lot of people in the creative community are afraid to speak out about gun safety because of the huge blowback. So I felt that, well, if I could get a group of people to say, to speak about it honestly and to kind of step up, then maybe it would help members. And so it's really just a bit about awareness and trying to get more people.
Do you still feel that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's improved considerably, right?
No question about it.
Yeah.
And the truth is that, you know, one person steps up and then
Right.
other people step out.
Right.
And that's been an extraordinary thing. And you understood that.
Yeah.
That if you could actually step out, then other people would follow you.
Safety
And
in
it's been
numbers.
amazing.
Right.
That's really how it works. Yeah. So, and I do, people still would say to me, they go, well, are you sure, you know, well, weren't you afraid? And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it was shocking to me to think that people were afraid to speak out because they were afraid of gun violence. So I thought, well, the only way to tackle this is by stepping up. You have to.
Right. So it's easy to feel hopeless and frustrated in the midst of this Trump administration and an NRA-friendly Congress. Can you give us an example of how activists have made a difference on this issue?
Well, you know, as John was saying earlier, you know, the NRA was Trump's biggest supporter. They donated $30 million. So I think understanding that, knowing that this is also a financial issue, is an important thing. But yeah, knowing that this is also a financial issue, that a $30 million donation from the NRA, that this kind of money is going into their pockets, it's important for people to understand that this is not just ideology. I think. So you can't anyone who can show up and contribute to the opposition, which is Everytown. I mean, the better it is for all of us. Mom's Demand has been amazing in terms of their grassroots effort. They've fought back against lots of concealed carry, the prevented concealed carry bills to be turned into laws by showing up and demonstrating in what, 7 states or something?
Yeah, but let me give you one example, and it's something that Julianne did that I was thought was amazing, which was we ran a ballot initiative in Nevada. It was a 3-year effort, and many people told us, don't go to Nevada. It's too Republican, too many gun owners, too independent, and too rural. And we decided to run a ballot initiative, which basically means you give the voters the choice whether they want universal background checks. And and despite the fact that everybody wanted us not to do it, we decided to do it, and we actually won. But Julianne gives you a sense that you can actually win in this issue. But Julianne did something that I am forever sort of admire, which is she wanted to go out to Nevada and see how she could help. And the way that she helped was the exact right thing to do, which was we had a huge group of moms who were our grassroots supporters there, and she went out to keep their spirits up. And that was actually exactly what the doctor ordered about 3 weeks before the vote, which was to make sure that they knew that we were all behind them and that we were supporting them every step of the way.
And I think it's really important to understand where gun violence is occurring. I was very touched in Nevada by how many veterans were there who were concerned about suicide. So these are people who are dealing with depression and isolation and have access to weapons, and so that the incidence on suicide for veterans is extremely high. So all these guys were showing up and talking about their friends and their buddies, and then there were these women who grew up who also had guns. I grew up with guns. I grew up in the Army. A lot of people in my family hunt. I don't think that it's. I don't think safety and gun ownership are mutually exclusive. I really don't. And I think the more we involve people who are gun owners, I mean that's my real interest. Is trying to get people who are responsible gun owners involved in this movement, because I think that's the key to it.
Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Author. So can you tell us what made you write this play and why this issue is important to you?
Well, yeah, I always say, I mean, the short answer is like Julianne. It was a reaction to Nagle. I don't know anybody who wasn't affected by that. But for me, actually, it's sort of been building up since about almost exactly 10 years ago, the shooting in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech. I went to UVA, which is the rival college of Virginia Tech, and when this happened, I remember watching on the news candlelight vigils in Charlottesville, which is where I went to school, for the shooting at Virginia Tech, and it just really struck a chord with me. These were college, these were kids that I knew, students that I knew, and just to see that sort of outreach from the sister school was touching, and that's when sort of the issue of gun violence kind of hit me. I became aware of it. And then after 2011, when Gabby Giffords was shot and there's 11 people killed in Tucson, again, that was a huge one for me, and I was watching the news. I mean, Charlotte was like, "What? Turn that off, turn that off, turn that off." I just couldn't turn it off. And I kept thinking, well, now something will change. A congressperson was shot, protect one of your own, right? And it didn't, and I was just pissed off. And I sort of had this thought, this terrible thought that I think only writers have in a dark time. Well, what if that had been a white man who was Republican who was shot? Would anything be different? And that was sort of the seed for the idea of this play, but it was unformed. And then after Sandy Hook, I was just so angry that I kind of channeled all of these thoughts into a play. And like Charlie says, we're justified by works, not by faith alone. So I didn't want to sit at home and fight. There's no hope that things can change. Great, do something. It's very small, but it's something, and so it's a play. And we hope that everybody in this room sees it, tells people, more people in each room sees it, and then we can all do something. This next question. So you are the producer of this play, aside from being married to the author. Wildest dreams, what are sort of the hopes for this play? What are you hoping in terms of change in national conversation? What are your sort of goals for this play specifically?
So interestingly enough, I'm also an Army girl. I didn't know that you were. I was in the Israeli Army, and I had guns. I had M16 and a Beretta at one point, and my whole, I've been in America for 25 years, and my whole relationship and understanding of what guns are here, it took me a while to understand that people could just walk into a store and buy one. It was so foreign to me, because in Israel we have to train, and nobody gives us the gun until like 2 weeks into training. So it was really foreign to me. And when I saw Jason so touched by it, and then finally Sandy Hook, it just ruined me. Our daughter was the age of those children. She's now 11. It just it shook me to the core, and I thought, well, what can we do? And then Jason wrote the play, and I thought, well, I don't want this just to be a play. I want it to be a conversation starter. And that's why we do these talkbacks. That's why we have partnerships with Everytown, VTV, New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, the Brady Campaign. We do this every Wednesday. And I hope, my wish is to bring this to every red state or purple state across the country and start a conversation. Because there's no villain in this play. I don't think this is this is a bringing people together. This is not, no one here is a villain. There's no vilifying of any character. So I'm hoping that we can very gently, with a piece of art, say, hey, here we are, and now let's start a conversation. This started in LA, and Rob was in that production as well, and I was very struck by how much people wanted to talk after it was over. They wanted to stick around, they wanted to talk about it, they wanted to know what they can do, how they can help, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity to do that, and I really believe that we can, in a small way, one town at a time, bring it out there and start a conversation. That's what I Last but not least, our wonderful cast. Thank you for coming. So I have a question sort of for all of you. This is a very serious topic that is infused with a lot of humor. And I wonder how you all balance that as an actor. How do you think it's okay to use humor to discuss such a serious... Yeah. Why did you laugh? But how do you do that? How does an actor, how do you layer it? What is your process? Talk to us. Tell us something. Come on.
Don't look at me. There's a phrase that I've heard for years in the acting profession of comedy is tragedy plus time. And it takes some time. Sometimes people aren't good at the time. Some people get in trouble for saying something funny too soon. But I think all really great works that I love pretty much and listen to are infused with both highs and lows of joy and ecstasy and sadness and grief and anger. And so as long as we keep bouncing back and forth between those things, our attention shifts from those things and we follow a story that way. That's why when people don't do that in conversation, you start drifting. So it has to happen in our work as well. I'm sure this play could work without the comedy that's inherent in the behavior, but I don't know if anyone would want to suggest it to friends, because it's hard enough out there without finding a way to laugh.
Jason, is the thing that's printed in the front of the script, is that in the program?
Like a shortened version of it? Like a, yeah. I have a one-pager in the script and then in the program
Jason's
same story.
Yeah, I'm saying that, which when I first read the script, I was like, oh, I like this guy. And I, just from that, this issue is so loaded.
It's hard not to find
yeah,
those.
right?
Our language is filled with these little phrases. These little
And because humor is what makes us human. Often laughing at ourselves, like laughing at each other, and I had no interest in writing a play that was, the message is strong, I think, in this play, and so to color it with other things, and I feel like that really spoke to me in terms of being able to say, like, yes, I'd like this, I'd like to do this, and I find that there's love in that, there's generosity, and making these people funny sometimes.
It creates a warmth, which makes you care about them all that much more. And the important thing you're talking about as an actor, how do you play that? Well, of course, for us, this is deadly serious. I mean,
Right.
You're laughing at us, but we don't find ourselves funny at all. I mean, this election is so important to Alex, and this issue is so important to her. Jesus is your running mate. It's all so serious. And so, in a way, we're not playing with humor. You find the humor in it from the recognition of the situations and all of that. But for us, and I like the fact that their humor their funniness or silliness falls, especially for our characters, falls away as we start to change. As we start to realize that those things, the election or my baby Glock, are less important to me now because he's changed me. He's made me see what's actually important here. And as we begin to soften, the ridiculousness falls away and it becomes less funny, which is, I think, a nice place for the play to land.
And I think there's been a couple other plays this season in New York about gun violence and gun safety, and I think
both of those authors also, it was because of Sandy Hook. I read,
Right.
why did read this play and they said Sandy Hook.
and I think that one was a one person show in Rhode Island, and there's another one, I think, too, that Anna Reed.
Yeah.
But
Courtney
I
Barry.
didn't get a chance to see them. Busy. But I think they're a little more. They're not. I don't know that there's. And so I fully like. Some people are going to be more. It's going to reach somebody that way. Some humor sometimes is another. So I just say, like, as long as you're being is respectful and it's that there's so you have to try every angle possible to make to connect people.
So I just have one last, in the interest of time, I know people have places to go. If there's anything else you want to add, this is a platform for Everytown. If there's anything specific that you want to mention or anything else that the actors want to add, the author wants to add, we have a few more minutes. If not, good. But if there's anything that you would like to add,
Also, just remind us, it's June 2nd, June 3rd, say that again.
So June 2nd is National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and we ask people to do a very simple thing, which is to wear orange. It's an extraordinary, poignant story about how we came to that, which is, some of you will remember at Obama's second inauguration, there was a marching band from Chicago that played at the inauguration. A week later, one of the teenagers who was in the marching band was killed, completely innocent victim. Everytown runs the Survivor Network, and her parents became very involved with us and asked us to meet her friends. And her friends said to us, the best way to honor Heidi, her name was Heidi Pendleton, was to wear orange. And the truth is, at first, we we didn't know why. And we said, sort of gently, tell us about the significance of orange. And they said, the significance of orange is that's where the color the countries wear in the woods. So it would be the best way to honor Heidi. And immediately, we thought that it was just an extraordinarily poignant way of people getting to raise their hand in a non-political way, just to honor Heidi, honor the fact that Americans believe in gun safety. And last year it was an extraordinary thing because Niagara Falls lit up in orange. The Empire State Building lit up in orange. I believe you were in orange that day. I bought an orange tie, which was not so easy to find. And it's not so easy to look good in orange.
Our current president will be wearing one.
Yes. These expressions are so important because it's not asking you to support a particular bill, not asking you to go into a particular legislator's office. It's basically just sort of raising your hand and saying, the current situation, this is not the world we want to live in. It's not what Americans believe in, and it's a wonderful way of expressing it. And that's on June 2nd, and on June 3rd is a march across the Brooklyn Bridge for all New Yorkers, which always gets a huge amount of publicity.
It's like 2 o'clock or
Yeah.
something. I went last year, and it's really extraordinary because you just march across the Brooklyn Bridge, and a lot of people have lost family members. So to stand next to someone who's lost a family from gun violence is unbelievably moving, and to be able to say I'm sorry for the loss, and I want to be here with you, and I want to celebrate this person. It's a great thing to do. It's a great gesture. It's important. We've become so inured to gun violence. You know, all this stuff about the guy being dragged off the Canada train, which is absolutely terrible, has been everywhere, and no one's talking about the 8-year-old who's killed in San Bernardino. You know, so it's like it's really, really important to stand with people who've lost loved ones.
So I urge you to come on June 3rd and to wear orange on June 2nd. I urge you to bring your kids because I think this is a really important lesson for kids. I mean, I know that we all were touched by Sandy Hook. I know the feeling that I had when I would take my kids to school, and as their hand, you let go of their hand, and you sort of sense this vulnerability, that you weren't sure what was going to happen at the rest of the day. I think it's good for kids to understand these things. And so I urge you to come on the 3rd because it's just really important to count the numbers. I mean, the one thing we've learned from this election, I think, is you got to show up.
Go to everytown.org. You can learn more about what they do, all those details about the Brooklyn Bridge March of Young and donate, sign up, get on our list, do all of that stuff.
Remember, the boxes are outside waiting